Nobody expected this. Just a few months ago, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were standing side by side on red carpets, smiling for cameras, looking like the perfect Hollywood couple. But on September 30th, 2025, Nicole filed for divorce, and when those court papers became public, people realized this wasn't just a sad ending to a love story. This was something much deeper, much darker, and filled with secrets that have been hiding in plain sight for years. Today, we're going to walk through what really happened behind the closed doors of a marriage that looked perfect but was quietly falling apart. Let's go back to the beginning, because understanding where Nicole came from helps us understand why this divorce hit her so hard. Nicole Kidman wasn't born into wealth or fame. She was born in Honolulu, Hawaii on June 20th, 1967. Her dad was studying breast cancer research, and her mom was a nursing teacher. They actually gave Nicole a Hawaiian name, Hokulani, which means heavenly star. But here's the funny part. They didn't name her after the stars in the sky. They named her after a baby elephant that was born at the zoo on the same day. Her parents thought it was adorable, and the name stuck. When Nicole was just 3 months old, her family packed up and moved to Washington, D.C. Her dad got a job at a mental health research center, and this was during a really intense time in American history. It was 1967, and the Vietnam War was raging. Nicole's parents were passionate activists who marched in protest against the war. Her mom actually got arrested once while holding baby Nicole in her arms during a demonstration. There was tear gas in the air. People were shouting, and Nicole was too young to remember any of it. But those stories became part of who she was. Her parents told her about those moments over and over as she grew up, and it shaped the way Nicole would later speak out about women's rights and domestic violence. When Nicole turned 3, the family moved back to Australia and settled in the suburb of Sydney. That's when life got really tough for her. She started school and immediately felt like she didn't belong anywhere. Nicole was tall, really tall. By the time she was 13, she was already 5'8". She had bright red curly hair and extremely pale skin that burned if she spent even a few minutes in the sun. And on top of all that, she had a bad stutter. Kids can be cruel, and they made fun of her constantly. They laughed when she tried to talk. She ate lunch by herself most days, sometimes hiding in the bathroom stalls with a book just to avoid everyone. One of her teachers from 4th grade remembered finding her sitting alone in the bathroom during lunch, reading a book with her sandwich sitting beside her, completely untouched. By the time Nicole was 10 years old, she was reading 4 books every single week. She wasn't reading because she loved literature. She was reading to escape. She wanted to disappear from the world that was making her feel so small and different. She didn't want to talk to anyone. She just wanted to lose herself in stories where she could be someone else, somewhere else. Things at home were tight too, but in a different way. Her dad taught psychology at the university, and her mom worked on feminist publications. They were smart, politically aware, and completely broke. Nicole and her younger sister shared one tiny bedroom until Nicole was 15 years old. They slept in bunk beds in a room that was only 10 feet by 12 feet. They had one television in the whole house, and there were strict rules about what they could watch. It was mostly news programs and documentaries. Sydney's summers were brutal, hitting over 100 degrees sometimes, and they didn't have air conditioning. Nicole started cleaning her aunt's medical clinic on weekends when she was just 12 years old, so she could earn money to buy her own ballet shoes. Her parents encouraged deep thinking and political awareness, but Nicole had a different dream. She wanted to perform. When Nicole was 4 years old, she watched The Wizard of Oz and fell completely in love with the idea of performing. She begged her parents for ballet lessons, and they eventually agreed. She joined the junior program at the Australian Ballet School in 1971 and trained intensely for 6 years. Her instructors said she had perfect musicality and natural grace. She had the talent, the dedication, and the passion. But there was one problem she couldn't control. By the time she was 16, Nicole was 5'11". That was considered way too tall for professional ballet. Male dancers couldn't lift her during partnering work. Ballet companies told her to give up the dream. It just wasn't going to happen. Her pale skin became another problem. During outdoor rehearsals, she would burn so badly that she needed bandages. One time the burn was so severe she could barely move. That's when Nicole finally accepted that ballet wasn't going to be her future. It crushed her heart, but she quietly shifted her focus toward acting instead. She didn't know it then, but giving up ballet would lead her to something even bigger. While Nicole was building her acting career in Australia during the late 1980s, something dark was happening with her father. He had been teaching controversial therapy sessions at a hospital from 1985 to 1988. He practiced something called recovered memory therapy, where he would use hypnosis to help people remember traumatic events from their past. But critics said he was actually planting false memories in people's minds, making them believe things that never happened. 3 people who attended his seminars died by suicide. The Australian Psychological Society opened an investigation into his methods. A court case in 1989 revealed that he had been charging patients $15,000 for just 1 week of hypnosis sessions. He resigned from his position in 1991. Nicole, who was in the United States filming a movie at the time, never spoke about it publicly. But people who knew her said she was deeply shaken by the whole situation. Her father died suddenly in 2014 from a heart attack in a hotel stairwell in Singapore. Some questions about his work were never fully answered. Despite everything happening at home, Nicole kept pushing forward with acting. At 13, she joined a theater in Sydney where she studied mime and drama. That's where she met Naomi Watts, who would become her best friend. When they were 15, they auditioned together for a commercial. The director told them they were too tall, too flat-chested, and too awkward-looking. Rejection after rejection came their way, but Nicole refused to stop trying. Then when Nicole was 17, everything changed again. Her mother was diagnosed with aggressive breast cancer. Nicole dropped out of high school and started working as a massage therapist to help her mom recover and to help pay bills. She took 2 different buses to get to acting classes because her parents refused to drive her there. They wanted her to figure things out on her own. That same year, she got her first movie role in a film called Bush Christmas, where she chased stolen horses through the Australian outback. It wasn't glamorous at all, but it was a start. She also starred in a movie called BMX Bandits, a crime comedy where she rode bikes through Sydney streets and did her own stunts. Nicole kept working nonstop. At 18, she took on her first adult role, wearing a red leather jacket and playing a rock singer. The movie wasn't a hit, but it showed producers she could handle different types of characters. Then came a mini-series about the Vietnam War, where she played the sister of a soldier. Critics absolutely loved her performance. She won Best Actress at major Australian award shows in 1987 and 1988. She was becoming impossible to ignore. Nicole pushed herself to extreme limits in her roles. In Moulin Rouge years later, she fractured ribs during dance scenes, tore cartilage in her knee, and bruised her spine during a stunt. The corset they made her was so tight it crushed her waist down to 18 inches and cracked another rib. During a different film in 2007, she was injured in a car stunt that crashed into a pole in downtown Los Angeles. The crew called an ambulance, but Nicole just stayed quiet like she always did. She never complained. She just kept working. One of her most important early roles came in 1989 in a miniseries called Bangkok Hilton. She played an Australian girl who gets caught smuggling drugs in Thailand and faces a death penalty. The show became the most-watched series in Australia that year. Nicole was only 21 years old, and her performance made people realize she wasn't just another pretty face trying to make it in movies. She was a serious actress who could carry an entire show on her shoulders. But Hollywood didn't care about her Australian success. When she moved to Los Angeles, she had nothing but a suitcase and whatever confidence she had left. Her parents wired her $200 every week from Sydney just so she could survive. She auditioned for everything and got rejected from almost all of it. Over 50 rejections came before anything moved forward. Casting directors told her the same thing over and over. She was too tall. Some places literally measured actors at the door, especially for musicals. Nicole started lying about her height, saying she was 5'10.5" instead of 5'11". Back in theater school, people had called her storky because of how tall she was. She was still hearing similar insults in Hollywood. Then came the movie that changed everything. Days of Thunder gave her the role of a doctor who falls in love with a race car driver played by Tom Cruise. On set, their chemistry wasn't just acting. They got close very quickly. He was 28, she was 23. Less than a year after Tom divorced his previous wife, he married Nicole. It happened on Christmas Eve in 1990, in a small private ceremony in Colorado. Only immediate family attended, plus one witness. No press, no big spectacle, just a quiet wedding. But being married to the biggest star in Hollywood didn't make things easier for Nicole. She was still being told she didn't fit the mold. Blonde, Australian, too tall, too foreign-sounding. She dyed her hair darker. She hired accent coaches to sound more American. She learned how to make herself seem smaller in rooms so she wouldn't appear intimidating. Casting directors still told her straight to her face that she wouldn't have a career because of her height. Even worse, when she worked with Tom, she was told to wear flat shoes so she wouldn't look taller than him. And for a while, she actually did it. They adopted 2 children together, Isabella in January 1992 and Connor in January 1995. People whispered that Tom had fertility issues and that's why they adopted, but they both denied it. Nicole later revealed that she had suffered a miscarriage and an ectopic pregnancy that almost killed her while filming a movie with Tom. No one knew about it at the time. She hid everything from the press and just kept working through the pain. Tom made Nicole join the Church of Scientology. She went through over 500 hours of something called auditing, paying $300 per hour to hold electrodes and answer deeply personal questions. By 1992, she had reached a level they called clear, which cost her over $150,000. The church told her to stop talking to Naomi Watts, her best friend from Australia. Nicole's parents refused to join Scientology, and church leaders actually sent someone to her parents' house in Sydney to try to convince them. By 2000, Nicole was secretly meeting with people who help others leave the church. She wanted out, but she was trapped because of her children. During this time, they filmed a movie together that took 15 months to make. The director pushed Nicole and Tom to their absolute limits. He made them do 95 takes of one emotional scene because he wanted real tears, real emotion, real breakdown. He even assigned them a therapist who they had to see every single week. That therapist later said their marriage was collapsing during filming. The director died just 4 days after showing the final version to studio. The film was done, and their marriage was nearly done too. In February 2001, Tom called Nicole. The conversation lasted 3 minutes. He told her it was over. Nicole was in Australia filming Moulin Rouge at the time. She collapsed on set. Later, she admitted she felt suicidal during that period. The divorce papers said irreconcilable differences, which is just legal language that means nothing. Tom got custody of the kids through Scientology lawyers. Nicole was only allowed to see her own adopted children 8 weekends per year. If she didn't sign the agreement, the church would label her a suppressive person, and she would lose her kids completely. She had no choice but to sign. After the divorce, Nicole started wearing high heels everywhere, 4-inch heels every single day. Tom had made her wear flat shoes for 10 years. She said putting on heels again was her first real act of freedom after the marriage ended. But Nicole didn't fall apart. She kept working, and her career actually exploded after the divorce. Moulin Rouge came out, and she won a Golden Globe for it. Then came other films where she proved she could carry movies on her own. She wore a fake nose for one role, and the producer absolutely hated it. He said he paid $1 million for her face, and now nobody could recognize her. But Nicole didn't back down. She studied the real person she was playing, read her letters and suicide notes, and won the Oscar in 2003. She had finally proven she was more than just Tom Cruise's wife. Around this time, rumors started spreading that she had an affair with her co-star from Moulin Rouge and that she was pregnant. He denied it. Nicole had another miscarriage 8 weeks into that pregnancy. The gossip didn't stop, though. The divorce settlement gave her a $7 million mansion. She kept the house and kept her silence about everything that happened. Nicole dated a few people after Tom, but nothing serious stuck until January 2005. That's when she met Keith Urban at an event. He was a country music star from Australia, and they hit it off immediately. But just 4 months into their relationship, Nicole found out Keith was addicted to cocaine and heroin. Most people would have walked away right then. Nicole didn't. She staged an intervention and personally drove him to a rehab facility called Betty Ford. He stayed there for 90 days. Keith later said that's when he knew Nicole was the one, because she didn't give up on him when everyone else would have. On June 25, 2006, they got married in Sydney. The wedding cost $500,000. Just the flowers at the entrance cost $100,000. The crystals on Nicole's dress were sewn by hand over 3 months. But there was something heartbreaking about that day. Her adopted kids from her marriage to Tom weren't there. The Church of Scientology had cut her off from them completely. Her own mother had to walk her down the aisle. In 2008, after going through IVF treatments, Nicole gave birth to Sunday Rose. She took a 2-year break from Hollywood just to breastfeed and be a mom. In 2010, they had another daughter named Faith Margaret through a surrogate. They spent $3 million building a custom nursery in their mansion. They had murals painted by an artist, expensive chandeliers installed, and even created a hidden reading nook behind a bookshelf filled with rare children's books worth $50,000. Nicole desperately wanted to be a hands-on mother after years of loss and heartbreak. But that same year, in August 2010, Keith relapsed. He was on tour in Toronto when a bandmate found drug paraphernalia on the tour bus. Nicole flew in immediately, pulled Keith off stage mid-tour, and checked him into another rehab center. For 6 weeks, she flew from movie sets to Arizona every single night to be near him. Her message was crystal clear. Choose drugs or choose me. Keith chose her. For several years after that, things seemed stable. But by 2017, something had shifted. Nicole was at the peak of her career, making $20 million a year from movies and TV shows. Keith was still touring, but his album sales had dropped by 40% since 2010. He was making around $8 million a year. That power flip in their relationship started causing arguments. Keith didn't want to be known as Mr. Kidman. Therapy sessions weren't fixing the underlying problems. Then came 2024, and the cracks became impossible to hide. Nicole had a new movie coming out called Baby Girl, where she played a CEO having an affair with a younger intern. It was getting massive attention, and she had to do premieres all over the world. Keith skipped every single one. He didn't show up in Venice, Toronto, or New York. Fans started noticing his absence and asking questions online. Keith also changed the lyrics to one of his songs. Back in 2018, he used to sing about Nicole's strength. But by August 2024, he changed it to be about his daughter's strength instead. At a concert in September, he completely skipped his usual shout-out to Nicole and dedicated a song to his guitarist instead. That same month, contractors working on their $12 million Nashville home renovation said the project had stalled because Nicole and Keith couldn't agree on the design. But it wasn't really about cabinets and paint colors. They had stopped agreeing on anything at all. Then came September 30th, 2025. Nicole Kidman filed for divorce in Nashville. When the court documents became public, they revealed things that shocked everyone. Keith had actually moved out months earlier. Nicole had tried to fix things through therapy, but Keith had already emotionally checked out of marriage. What made it even more stunning was that just 4 months before the filing, they had attended a huge celebrity event together in New York, smiling and posing like everything was perfectly fine. The custody arrangements in those documents were brutal. Nicole was granted 306 days per year with their 2 daughters, Sunday and Faith. That's 84% of the time. Keith only got 59 days. The papers mention his alcohol rehab from 2006, which was almost 20 years earlier. Even more shocking, both of them had already signed a parenting plan on August 29th, a full month before anyone knew they were splitting up. Everything had been decided in secret. The documents also required Keith to take drug tests before he could have visits with his daughters. All exchanges of the kids had to happen at neutral locations, not at either parent's home. Keith wasn't allowed overnight visits until he completed sobriety counseling. The papers didn't list exact child support numbers, but legal experts estimated it would be somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 per month based on their incomes. They didn't fight over spousal support payments, but dividing their property got extremely detailed. Keith kept the $12 million estate in Nashville. Nicole kept the $6.5 million home in Australia and their $18 million property in Beverly Hills. They even had to split their airline miles. They had accumulated 4.2 million miles, and those got divided up. Even their collection of vintage guitars, valued at $800,000, had to be listed and divided. Nicole's new movie Baby Girl was still playing in theaters when the divorce was filed. It had already made $45 million worldwide. Keith kept all his music royalties from songs he'd written and recorded. Nicole kept all the earnings from her production company. After the split became public, Keith showed up at a concert on October 12th without his wedding ring. It was the first time in 19 years that he performed without it. He changed the lyrics in one of his popular songs, and during performance he kept staring at his 25-year-old guitarist, a woman named Maggie. He had recently fired 2 longtime band members and replaced them with younger musicians. Then he bought a $4.7 million house with a private recording studio. Paparazzi caught him having dinner with the young guitarist on October 8th. His team quickly said it wasn't romantic, but friends of Nicole said she felt completely humiliated. This wasn't the man she had saved from addiction twice. This wasn't the man she had sacrificed so much for. Then came a magazine interview in October 2025. Nicole looked composed in the photos, but you could see the pain in her eyes. She said something that broke hearts. "You feel completely broken," she told the reporter. "But time heals if you face the pain head-on." 3 days after filing for divorce, Nicole walked in a fashion show in Paris with both of her daughters by her side. No Keith, just her and her girls. She had cut new bangs. Her outfit cost $12,000. People online called it her divorce debut, her way of showing the world she was moving forward. Nicole's team released a statement saying she was committed to co-parenting peacefully with Keith for the sake of their daughters. She hired an expensive mediator who charges $850 per hour to help them work through custody details without constant fighting. Sources also said Nicole has started writing a memoir. The working title is Grace and Grit. Publishing companies are already in bidding wars to buy the rights to her story, with offers reaching $12 million. And just like that, after 19 years together, 2 daughters, 3 separate interventions for Keith's addiction, and probably 100 red carpet appearances, the story that started with shared laugh at an event in 2005 ended in a courthouse in Tennessee. A marriage that looked perfect from the outside had been quietly breaking for years. Nicole had played the role of supportive wife, loving mother, and successful actress all at once. But behind closed doors, she was carrying weight that no one could see. She had saved Keith from addiction multiple times. She had given him a family, a stable home, and unconditional love. And somehow, it still wasn't enough. This divorce isn't just another celebrity breakup. It's a reminder that you never really know what's happening in someone's life, no matter how perfect things look on social media or in magazines. Nicole Kidman spent decades being told she was too tall, too different, too foreign. She survived an extremely controlling first marriage. She lost custody of her first 2 children because of a church's rules. She saved a man from addiction and built a second family with him. And now, at 58 years old, she's starting over again. But if there's one thing Nicole's life has shown us, it's that she never stays down for long. She gets back up, puts on her heels, and keeps moving forward. If you found this story as heartbreaking and eye-opening as we did, please hit that like button right now. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear Nicole's story of strength and resilience. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into the real stories behind Hollywood's biggest headlines. We read every single comment, so drop your thoughts below. Do you think Keith will regret how this ended? Do you think Nicole will find happiness again? Let us know what you think. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.